This is Pokemon Emerald EX's Speed Choice, a ROM hack that can bring most of Gen 8 mechanics and quality of life features to the original game, like updated abilities, the physical and special split, multiple use TMs, and the fairy typing without changing it that much. Today, I'm going to try and see how easily Charizard can beat Pokemon Emerald with those updated mechanics. The first fight against May goes great. With the updated level up movesets, if the trainer doesn't have a special moveset, like the gym leaders, they will go to their default level up moveset, which in May's case means that her Mudkip starts with the move Water Gun. It still did a lot of damage to Charizard, exactly half in fact, but he starts with the move Air Slash, which is a stab 75 base power move. It obviously destroyed Mudkip. While I make my way to Roxanne, let's explain some of the rules for this challenge. The first is that I'll try to keep the number of battles at a bare minimum, fighting trainers only when they are mandatory. This ROM hack has a function to make trainers fight you only if you talk to them, so if you see me running past a trainer that's not necessary to fight, it's most probably because of that. I can also disable random wild battles, but that's more to make the run take less time. The second rule is that no items will be allowed during battle, except hell items. Finally, the obvious one is that I cannot use other Pokemon during battle except Charizard. I'll get some Pokemons for HMs, but they'll never be used for other purposes. Anyways, before challenging Roxanne, there's one mandatory trainer on the right of Rosboro City that has 2 Geodudes, and I wanted to challenge him not only for the experience, but also to see how Charizard would do against the gym. And Air Slash was actually doing pretty good damage, two-shotting the Hiker's Geodudes. Maybe Charizard has a chance after all. Just kidding. Charizard needs to hit a range against Roxanne's Geodudes to be able to get a 2-shot. That wouldn't be a problem if that was all there was, but when combined with his double weakness to Rock, he just gets one-shotted before he can even think of hitting another attack. Air Slash has a 30% chance to flinch, and Rock Tomb has a chance to miss, so I keep trying until I get either of those things to happen. It takes me until attempt 4 until I manage to get past the first Geodude by hitting the range and getting a flinch, and I get lucky enough where I get it to happen again against the second Geodude. When Nosepass came out, I tried going for Smokescreen, which I thought might be the best option, but she still landed the Rock Tomb and no-code Charizard. I kept trying for a couple more times to see if I could get to Nosepass again, but after failing to hit the range when I got a flinch, I decided to ditch the idea of minimum battles and get at least one more level on Charizard. I look up, and the trainers that can give the most experience are the 2 trainers that have 2 Geodudes inside of the gym, so I fight one of them to get to level 12. That makes it easier to get the 2-shot, but I still need the luck to get the flinches, so it takes me a while to get to Nosepass again. And when I do, Air Slash did like a quarter, which isn't good when she has a berry. However, her Rock Tomb doesn't one-shot Charizard and leaves him with just 1 HP, giving me the chance to use Smokescreen. She misses only once though, so she still knocks out Charizard. If I could just get a couple of Smokescreens on Nosepass and get some flinches with Air Slash, there might be a chance of winning without having to overlevel. I'll still fight the second trainer with the 2 Geodudes because that Rock Tomb on Nosepass might have been a range, so it's just to be on the safer side. After many attempts, I finally get a run where I get to Nosepass at full HP, land 2 Smokescreens, and hit her with enough Air Slashes to knock her out. It took me over 100 restarts to win, and while I could have fought more trainers to level up, unless I got enough experience to get to a level where I could one-shot the Geodudes, it wouldn't have really helped me, since I would still get defeated by 2 rock moves and need to get a flinch against both Geodudes. Moving on from one of the hardest fights for Charizard, we move on to one of the easiest, as Broly's fighting types get one-shot by Air Slash. The only other relevant thing was that by defeating Makuhita, Charizard reached level 17 and tried to learn Dragon Rage, which should be extremely helpful up until like, I don't know, the 4th gym? The move starts being helpful immediately, as it not only one-shots all of the regular trainers, but also by easily two-shotting both May's Slugma and Marshtomp. I don't think I really needed the move though, as Slugma's Rock Throw and Marshtomp's Water Gun didn't even do half of Charizard's HP. Next is Watson, and this one could be another roadblock. Super effective moves and paralysis are definitely not a good combination to fight against. I would say that I would certainly need to get some levels, but with access to Dragon Rage, maybe I don't need to. We'll have to see. I get to level 24 by fighting all of the mandatory trainers and give it a try. First attempt didn't start well, as Dragon Rage wasn't a one-shot against Voltorb. He hit me with a rollout that did more damage than I was expecting, but thanks to him being locked, he couldn't heal and got defeated. Next was the Ace Manectric, and Dragon Rage got him just in range of healing with his berry while he used Thunder Wave, but I got it healed with the berry that I equipped Charizard beforehand. I attack again, but Manectric lands the move again and paralyzes me this time, which gives him the chance to use Shockwave and get Charizard to a quarter before being KO'd. Magneton is third, but with the paralysis he easily outsped and knocked Charizard out with Shockwave. Okay, it might take a couple more attempts, but if I get Manectric to miss Thunder Wave, maybe I can defeat Magneton with Ember. Literally the next attempt, and Manectric goes for Howl instead of Thunder Wave. Not only that, but his next move was Shockwave, which got Charizard in range of activating his ability Blaze, that boosts his fire-type moves. Because of that, Ember was able to get a one-shot against Magneton. I was a bit worried about the Electrike, but Ember was once again a one-shot. I'll never know how much of a difference Blaze had against Magneton, but I'm glad that I don't have to restart over and over after that whole Roxanne fight. The next part of the story is the fight against Team Magma, but before that, in Floorball Town, there's the move reminder. I could tree a heart scale and teach Charizard again any move that I deleted, which might seem like a small thing that I shouldn't even bother to mention, but I could also teach him moves that he might have missed at level 1, and there's actually a ton of moves. In the end, I teach him only Heat Wave, which is a special fire 95 base power move that has a small chance to burn. There were other options like Dragon Claw or Flare Blitz, but since Charizard is more of a special attacker, I just went for Heat Wave. That means that before the 4th gym, Charizard has access to 2 stab moves that are over 70 base power. Not only that, but he also has access at any time to some nice coverage moves, like Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw, and now Dig thanks to the TM, with the last one helping cover 2 of his 3 weaknesses, even if it's a physical move. I could also teach him Return right now, but as an added rule, I decided to not teach him any moves that almost every Pokemon can learn, like Toxic, Double Team, or Rest. They just make every solo run look the same, so I think it's better if I just don't use them. The Matzy fight after was a bit tricky. His Mighty Iena wasn't a one-shot with Heat Wave, and hit me with a Swagger, which made Charizard hit himself what Matzy healed. I got him the next turn with Heat Wave though, knocking him out. Next was Camerupt, and he was also not a one-shot, but he just used Amnesia, so a Dragon Rage defeated him. Last was Zubat, but that one was obviously not an issue. The next fight is Flannery, and I could have gone with Dig, but since it only does slightly more damage than Air Slash because of Stab, and Charizard has a higher special attack, I just went in without the move. She starts with Numel, and Air Slash is of course not a one-shot, but she only goes for a Sunny Day, so I attack her again, and it looks like it was arranged, because this time it was a one-shot. Camerupt comes out, and Air Slash gets a flinch, so he easily gets knocked out. Meaning that next is the ace Torkoal. Air Slash is doing a bit less than half, while she sets up the Sunny Day again. I'm afraid of getting her into healing range, so I attack with Dragon Rage, and it unfortunately does get her there while she hits with a Body Slam. I go for the same 2 moves while she heals, and she goes for Attract. It got super close when Charizard didn't move for 2 turns, risking getting paralyzed by Body Slam, but on the 3rd turn, he finally landed the Dragon Rage. Last was Logma, and he got OHKO'd by Air Slash. After finishing the fight, I get the 4th badge, alongside Overheat. It's a special fire 130 base power move that has the downside of lowering the special attack by 2 stages. It can work like Hyper Beam for Charizard in a tough spot, but it can realistically only be used once, while also hindering him for the rest of the battle. So, well, yes, it can be used, but only as a last resort. I also get the charcoal from the store to the right of the gym to boost Charizard's fire moves by 20%, which should be useful for the rest of the run. Jumping straight into the Norman fight, Heatwave is a one-shot against Pinda. For slacking, the move does half, but it does get him to eat his berry while he hits with a strong facade. Like Flannery, I try to go for Dragon Rage to prevent him from going for a potion. And this time, the strategy works, so it only takes one more Heat Wave to defeat him. Then both Linoon and Vigoroth were one-shots with Heat Wave. Easy fight! With the 5th patch acquired, I also get access to Surf, and I decide to just head straight to the next gym, defeating both Team Aqua on the Weather Institute and the rival on the way, which were not even worth mentioning. Winona starts with Swablu, which was obviously a one-shot with Heat Wave, so next is Pelipper. She got a bit annoying with Protect, but did nothing besides that, being an easy 2-shot with Air Slash. The Ace Altaria comes out, and Air Slash isn't doing that much. Thankfully, the first attack was a flinch, so she was only able to set up a Dragon Dance before being outsped and defeated. Then Skarmory was a one-shot with Heat Wave, and last was Tropius, who was also a one-shot. Next was Matsi, and it took a bit longer than it should, but only because he kept healing his Crobat with Super Potions when I thought I could defeat him with Dragon Rage. Nothing else worth mentioning. Now, while I go through all of the evil team plot, which, let's be honest, is never an issue, let's talk about the rest of Charizard's level up moveset and TMs he could learn. For the level up moves, there's honestly not much. There's Slash, but there's nothing that the normal type hits for neutral damage that the flying doesn't. And the rest of the moves are all fire type, with the only interesting ones being Flamethrower at 47, which is more accurate than Heat Wave but slightly less powerful, and Inferno at 62, which is 100 base power and always burns the target, but has a 50% chance to hit, so pretty much the same as Dynamic Punch, but fire. That last one could be useful, but it comes so late that I don't think I'll even be able to see it during this run, besides for the Steven fight. As for TMs, the only one that could maybe come up is Earthquake, but with fire hitting for super effective damage most of the type's ground also hits, and the move using the physical attack stat, I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. I don't know, Charizard is still running Dragon Rage and Smokescreen, so I can see myself changing one or two of them for coverage. I just wish there was a setup move or something for Charizard to make him stronger, because the Tate and Lysa fight is looking really rough. Speaking of, before battling, since half of their team resists both fire and flying, I went to the move tutor to replace Dragon Rage for Shadow Claw. I don't know if it's going to do much, but it's better than what I had, I think. I also had to bring one of the Pokemons I was using for HM since I was forced to. I gave it a couple of tries, but this just isn't happening. I have Heat Wave that can hit both opponents on the field, and 2 hits managed to beat Satu, but Claydol that has Ancient Power and Lunatone that resists fire are a problem. I could maybe defeat one of them if I keep trying to get a crit with Shadow Claw, but then the other one would easily defeat me. I was holding a Charcoal to boost the power of Heat Wave, and I could try and get a spell attack from Wild Ghost types to try and boost the damage of Shadow Claw, but even with that, I just don't think it's enough. I honestly think I'll have to grind until I can 2-shot the Claydol. Before that, I'm going to try going for Sunny Day Heat Wave and see how that works. I went with the Sunny Day strat, but the problem now is that setting up the Sunny Day doesn't allow me to KO the Satu on turn 2, instead leaving him on a sliver. At least it 2-shots the Claydol, but with Lunatone and Solrock in the back, I would need to get a couple of crits to get past them. I was going to resign myself to having to use rare candies, but while using the Sunny Day strats, the image of seeing Mega Charizard Y using Solar Beam came to my mind. He isn't supposed to learn the move in Gen 3, but what if it does in this game? And after getting the TM from the Safari Zone, he does in fact learn it. So I guess I'll have to check every Pokemon's TM moveset to make sure I don't miss anything, because if you notice, my team looks a bit different. That's because I didn't think of that while fighting Tate and Lysa, but when I got all the way to the league. So to make it fair for Charizard, I decided to just restart the whole game until I got back to Tate and Lysa just to test it. Also because I forgot that I could use rare candies and fought some trainers. That's my B. It took me a couple more attempts, but with the help of the Miracle Seed to boost the power of Solar Beam and the Blaze ability from Charizard, I was able to beat Tate and Lysa. After setting up the Sunny Day and hitting Satu and Claydol with Heat Wave, they both targeted Charizard with Psychic and Ancient Power respectively. I needed for Satu to attack instead of setting up, and for both moves to leave Charizard on yellow HP. After that, with the Blaze boost, I was able to KO both of them. When they sent Lunatone and Solrock, I targeted Lunatone with Solar Beam since he's the one that has the higher special attack, and with the Miracle Seed, it was a one-shot. Not only that, but thanks to their other Pokemon low rolling against me, Charizard had enough HP to barely survive a Psychic from Solrock after leveling up, being able to OHKO him with another Solar Beam. It took me like an hour to get back here after restarting the run, but I am so glad that I did that. Next was a double battle on the space station against Matzy and Tabitha with Steven. Then there's no way he loses to both of them when they are weaker and with a partner Pokemon that doesn't get one-shot instantly. Heat Wave is just such a good move in double battles. Last of the evil team fights is against Archie, and his Sharpedo knows no water type moves. So it was way easier than the double battle against Matzy. The final gym leader is Juan. He starts with Love Disc and I started with Sunny Day to both reduce the damage from water moves and to use Solar Beam. Juan used Attract, preventing me from moving, and then Sweet Kiss confusing Charizard. He then hit himself in confusion and got hit by a Water Pulse, so off to a great start. Charizard finally lands a Solar Beam, but he wasted too many turns. Crodon is second, but he's obviously a one-shot. So next is the Ace Kingdra. I didn't notice that the sun had faded away, so I clicked Solar Beam, needing to charge it while he used Double Team. It luckily landed, but he used a Water Pulse that did massive damage. Thankfully, Air Slash was then able to KO him. Next was Celio, and I needed to take the risk of going for Sunny Day, which ended up paying off in the end, as it weakened Celio's attack enough to not make it knock Charizard out. After that, both Celio and Whiscash were a one-shot with Solar Beam. That was way closer than it needed to be. Finally, before the league, is Wally, and Charizard was able to two-shot his Altaria and Gardevoir, and one-shot his Magneton, Delcatty, and Roselia. Now, there have been some really close fights, with Ted and Liza almost forcing me to use rare candies, and Roxanne straight up needing for Charizard to level up. But besides that, it has been an almost minimum battles run, only needing to fight two trainers that were not mandatory at the start of the game. However, I might need to use the rare candy soon, as Drake has no weaknesses that my Charizard can take advantage of, while also having a Shelgon with Rock Tomb and a Salamence with Rock Slide. I could teach Charizard Dragon Claw, but between the Intimidate from Salamence, Charizard's superior special attack, and Stab Air Slash, I think he's better off without the move. Besides, I could also get the Sharp Beak to boost the damage from flying moves from Wild Doduos, while the Dragon Claw can only be obtained by doing rematches against a specific trainer. Just in case, I'm going to make a save state before challenging the Elite Four, and if at some point I get stuck, I'm going to load the save and collect the rare candies so that I don't get any extra experience from the fights. First of the Elite Four is Sydney, and after setting up a Sunny Day against Mighty Yena, every single one of his Pokemon was a one-shot with either Heat Wave or Solar Beam. Second of the Elite Four is Phoebe, and I needed to be careful with my power points thanks to her Dusclops ability Pressure and the constant use of Protect. I knew she would go for the move immediately, so I used Sunny Day to boost the power of my fire moves. But even with that, Heat Wave wasn't a one-shot against her. She obviously healed, so I went for Air Slash to preserve some power points, which, when followed by a Heat Wave, was able to defeat her. She sent her second Dusclops, and I started with Air Slash while she hit with Shadow Ball. The sun faded away, so I wanted to set it up again, but what I didn't know was that she had Rock Slide, doing massive damage to Charizard. Thankfully, it didn't KO him, so I took her out the next turn. I then proceeded to KO the rest of her team easily with Heat Wave, only needed to use Air Slash against Sableye due to running out of power points. Third of the Elite Four is Glacia, and after setting up a Sunny Day, I was able to one-shot every one of her team members but Walrein, who needed to be hit twice while also having to set up a second Sunny Day against her. But unless she got a crit with Surf, Charizard was never in any danger. Last of the Elite Four is Drake, and on my first attempt, Air Slash got a crit one-shot against Shelgon. Against Salamence, Charizard was faster, hit for less than half with Air Slash, and got OHKO'd by Rock Slide. Yeah, I'm just going to get the rare candies. There are 17 rare candies throughout the Hoenn region, and only 2 are locked behind a trainer battle. As I said before, I loaded a save that I did before challenging the Elite Four so that I don't get any extra experience from those battles. I then collected every rare candy that I could, defeated the 3 Elite Four members that I challenged before, and started testing how many rare candies I would need to use so that Salamence would be a 2-shot when accounting for his citrus berry, because that's a thing that I also need to worry about. I first wanted to test out equipping the Sharpic to see the damage range, and it didn't really look good. Shell Gun wasn't a one-shot for starters, so I needed either a flinch or a crit. Then there's Salamence, who would be a 2-shot, but only if he didn't have a citrus berry. Let's start with 2 rare candies to get to level 60 and see how it goes. On my second attempt, I managed to flinch Shell Gun, because he's still not a one-shot. I then get to Salamence, only to do about the same damage, triggering his berry, but also flinching him. I then hit him again with Air Slash to get him to the red, and I get another flinch. For some reason he didn't heal, so the next attack defeated him. King dragged him out, and Air Slash did about half his HP, while Surf did massive damage to Charizard. I defeated him on the next turn, but next was Altaria and he wasn't a 2-shot. Luckily, or maybe not, he went for a Dragon Dance, followed by a Double Edge. And while it did only get Charizard to the red, it also got him in range of being defeated by another attack. Last was Flygon, and he wasn't a one-shot, so he easily defeated me. I don't think I'll get that lucky again against Salamence unless I try for an hour, and I would then need to get 1 or 2 more flinches. So I'm just going to use 3 more rare candies, which should improve Charizard's odds of winning. Shell Gun is now a one-shot, so it was easy to get to Salamence now, and on this attempt I got the double flinch once again. He did heal, but without the berry now, he was easily a 2-shot. With Kingdra, I went this time for Sunny Day to weaken his serves. I don't know if it was a good idea, but thanks to a flinch, it looks like I'll never know. Altaria is next, and Air Slash now did half while he immediately went for Double Edge, so I easily took him down. Last was Flygon, and now that I had a lot more HP and got another flinch, I was able to knock him down. I probably didn't need the last 3 rare candies that I used, and just needed to keep trying until I got enough flinches. But with Shell Gun being a ranged one-shot and his last 3 Pokemon doing a ton of damage, I feel like it was the best decision. Finally, it's the champion, Wallace. He starts with Wailord and I start with Air Slash since he likes to go for Water Spout. He instead goes for Rain Dance, so the next turn I go for Sunny Day to override it, while he goes for a Blizzard that misses, so I just KO him the next turn. Next was Tentacruel, and this one was a bit of an issue. He's neutral to Solar Beams, so I went instead with the strategy of holding a Sharpic and pray for flinches with Air Slash, since both moves were 3 shots. And in this attempt, I got 2 flinches. He healed and the sun eventually faded away, so I had to go for Sunny Day while being hit by a Hydro Pump. And while I did manage to defeat him, he hit me with Sludge Bomb and poisoned Charizard beforehand. Then Wallace sent my Melodic, and since Solar Beam wasn't a one-shot, he easily defeated me. Okay, time to pull out the rare candies. I trade with 2, and while Wailord goes about the same, Tentacruel needs a range to be able to defeat him and maybe a flinch or 2. On this attempt, I got the range, so I went into my Melodic mostly healthy. Against my Melodic, it did about the same damage as before, but this time he went for Toxic. I could continue narrating the rest of the fight, but getting hit by that move destroys any chance Charizard had of winning. Let's try again and hope that he doesn't land it or use it. I get back, but with less HP this time, since Tentacruel wasn't cooperating with the ranges and I needed to set up Sunny Day again. Thanks to that last part and my Melodic not using Toxic, I managed to beat him, though Charizard lost most of his HP and the sun faded away. Next was Ludicolo, and he was an easy one-shot with Air Slash. Wallace then sent Whiscash, but without the Sunny Day, he could easily defeat me. I might need more levels. 2 rare candies after, and there's a new problem. Tentacruel is now using Toxic, and because he's a poison type, he cannot miss the move. There's no way for the sun to be up when I fight against Whiscash, so what I will need to happen is for Tentacruel to at most hit me once without poisoning me, to get a 2-shot against him, for my Logic to not go or land a Toxic, and to get to Whiscash with enough HP so that Charizard can set up a Sunny Day and survive a Surf from him. And all of that just to get to Wallace's last Pokemon, which I don't even know if Charizard is going to be able to defeat at that point. I know it's possible, but it's going to take a lot of tries. After less attempts than what I expected, but still a lot, I was able to defeat my Logic while being at a pretty decent HP and not poisoned. Like last time, Ludicolo was a one-shot, and against Whiscash, I was able to set up a Sunny Day which weakened his Surf enough to not be able to defeat me, which allowed me to KO him with Solar Beam. Last was Gyarados, and I was really nervous. Air Slash looked like it was going to be a 2-shot, but he went for Dragon Dance. I thought he was then going to defeat me, but he just went for it again, so I just knocked him out with another attack. He had Hyper Beam and Surf, so I don't know why he didn't just defeat me, but I'll take it. That was pretty difficult, but honestly, way easier than I expected. No way I would have gotten this far without Solar Beam, so I'm really grateful that Charizard can learn it in this game. However, as you probably know, the run is not over yet. There's still the secret post-game battle against Steven, which no doubt is going to be the biggest challenge for Charizard, having to face against 3 rock types. Before the fight, I replaced Air Slash for the move Inferno, which guarantees a burn on the opponent and does a lot of damage. I don't know if I'll get many chances to set up Sunny Day, so having a move that reduces Steven's Pokemon physical attack is going to be a great help for increasing Charizard's odds of being able to get it. I've already increased my level a ton when challenging Wallace, but if that's not enough, I still have a couple of rare candies left. Let's just hope that it's going to be enough. First try without rare candies and Heat Wave one-shot Skarmory. Readily comes out and the same move doesn't even do half against him, while his Ancient Power leaves Charizard on a sliver of HP. I managed to land an Inferno the next turn, but it wasn't enough, and he just defeats me. Let's try and get a burn, which maybe can help. I tried starting with Inferno against Greedily, but I forgot that they made Ancient Power into a special move, so the burn doesn't help at all, besides a bit of cheap damage. Okay, Sunny Day should certainly do the trick, right? I tried the move, but now the issue is that Skarmory starts with Toxic, obviously dooming the rest of the run. I replaced the charcoal I had equipped for a berry to heal the poison, and with the help of the sun and Blaze, Heatwave is now a 2-shot against Greedily. But then Armaldo comes out and he isn't a 1-shot, so he easily defeats Charizard with a random move. The move left Armaldo on the red, so maybe if I use all of the rare candies that I've collected, I can defeat him. Just in case, I made a save file before using them, just in the scenario that I need to get more levels. I try again, and this time Armaldo is a 1-shot, but when I defeat him, the sun fades away. Steven sends Claydol, and even when I use Inferno, it doesn't do enough to defeat him, so Charizard faints to an Ancient Power. I'll be honest, I'm running out of options. But before considering fighting more trainers, there's one last thing that I want to try. After many attempts, I get back to Claydol and use Air Slash to get a flinch. I then use Heat Wave and it crits, defeating Claydol. I'm pretty sure it wasn't going to KO him without it. Second to last was Aggron, and I needed to get another flinch with Air Slash due to Sturdy, and I thankfully get it. After that, Heat Wave was able to knock him out. Last was Metagross, and Charizard outsped and no-code him with a final Heat Wave, somehow winning while having to restart 244 times and doing almost minimum battles, with the exception of 2 trainers that he had to fight to beat Roxanne. I'll be honest, I was ready to have to do more battles for Charizard to beat Steven. If I didn't get that crit, I was sure that he was going to lose. If not to Claydol, then to Aggron. The strategy I had planned if that didn't work was that I was thinking of doing the 5 battles to get the last 2 rare candies, the one against May to get access to them all and buy the TM for Fire Blast, and the ones on the SS title to get the leftovers, which might have been 1 or 2, I'm not sure. You might think that I still needed the Pecha Berry for Toxic, but many times Skarmory led with Aerial Ace, so with the leftovers and a flinch from Air Slash on either Cradily or Claydol, I would have been able to get to Aggron with a lot more HP. But anyways, did I miss anything on the video? If you think so, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.